Welcome back to our podcast, Stellar Insights, with your hosts, Joe and Donna, brought to you on our YouTube channel, Travel 1609. Last week, we traveled to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee for the Dollywood theme park's 40th anniversary and rode the classic Dollywood train.
Ah, that ride. It really does stick with you, doesn't it?
It really does.
There's just something special about chugging through those Smoky Mountain foothills, behind a real coal-fired steam engine. It feels like more than just getting from A to B.
Yeah, like a trip back in time, absolutely. Yeah. And it really got us thinking about the Dollywood Express itself. You see this, 2.5-mile stretch of narrow-gauge track, takes you on that 5-mile round trip through the park, through the foothills. But what really struck me was just the sheer presence of that engine.
Oh, yeah.
That 110-ton coal-fired machine, it felt like connecting with real history.
Exactly. And chances are the locomotive we were actually riding behind, the one you often see out there, has this wonderful nickname, Cinderella. No, 70.
Cinderella.
Okay. So for this deep dive, we thought, let's unpack her story. Let's, dig into the records, find those little details, those anecdotes that make Engine 70 so special.
All right, let's do it. Cinderella No 70. Officially engine #70, but I can see why Cinderella stuck.
Definitely.
She's one of two historic steam locos running on the Dollywood Express. The other one is Klondike Katie Nova 192.
That's her running mate. And Cinderella has this really impressive heritage. She was built way back May 1938.
38, wow.
Yeah, by the Baldwin Locomotive Works. They were in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania back then.
Okay.
Her construction number, like the serial number, is 62234.
Baldwin Locomotive Works. Now, that's a name that carries some real weight in the world of trains, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Weight is right. They were giants, true industrial giants of the American steam era.
Right.
Operating from 1825 all the way to 1951. Started in Philly, later moved to Eddystone. And for, decades, they were the world's largest producer of steam locomotives, no contest. And what's amazing is how many Baldwin engines, like our Cinderella, are still around, preserved, even operating. It really speaks volumes about their build quality.
Definitely. Okay, so Cinderella isn't just any steam engine. You mentioned she's a specific type, a 282 Mikado.
Exactly, a Mikado type. That 282, it tells you about the wheels, how they're arranged.
Okay, break that down for us.
So think of it like this. You've got two small wheels at the very front. Those are the leading wheels. They help guide the engine into curves.
Gotcha.
Then you have the 8 big driving wheels in the middle. That's where the main power comes from, connected to the cylinders.
Right, the driving force, yeah.
Yep. And finally, 2 trailing wheels tucked under the cab at the back. They support the weight of the firebox, which, on these Mikados, could be larger.
And a larger firebox means?
More steam, more power, more pulling capacity, which was key for these engines.
Now, the name Mikado, it sounds a bit, exotic. Where did that come from?
It does have a certain ring to it, yeah. It actually points to an international connection. Baldwin built similar 282 locomotives for Japan, starting back in the late 1800s. And the name Mikado, which was a term for the Emperor of Japan back then, sort of stuck to that wheel arrangement, even for engines built for American railroads.
Interesting. So she shares a design heritage with engines in Japan.
In a way, yes. Technically, she's got some pretty solid specs, too. We're talking 17-inch diameter cylinders, a 22-inch stroke.
Okay.
0.44-inch diameter driving wheels, boiler pressure at 215 psi.
That sounds like a lot.
It translates to about 25,200 pounds of tractive effort. That's pulling power.
Yeah.
And the whole engine weighs around 235,000 pounds. So, yeah, she's got muscle.
Definitely got muscle. So before charming folks in Dollywood, she had this whole other life way up north in Alaska.
That's right. A completely different world. Engine #70 was actually the very first of 4 identical locos. Their class was 12, 28, 14 E282 Mikados that were bought by the White Pass and Yukon Route.
The WP and YR.
Yep, between 1938 and 1947. And these engines were specifically engineered really, for the tough conditions up there.
Tough conditions, meaning?
Well, the challenging terrain, steep grades, tight curves, and also the specific track gauge. The White Pass uses a 3-foot narrow gauge track through Alaska and parts of Canada.
3-foot gauge. Okay. And Alaska and Canada, that's definitely a far cry from the Smokies. The work must have been quite different.
Worlds apart. And interestingly, when she first started working in Alaska, she was actually oil-fired.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They later converted her to burn coal, which, as you know, is what she still burns today at Dollywood.
Huh. Full circle.
Pretty much. Right. And she worked art up there for about 25 years, from 1938 until 1963, hauling freight hauling passengers through some incredibly rugged, beautiful, but demanding landscapes.
And the Mikado type was good for that.
Perfect for it. That power we talked about, combined with the wheel arrangement, made them well-suited for pulling heavy loads up steep hills and navigating those sharp curves common on mountain railways.
You can just picture it. Makes you wonder what kinds of things she was hauling back then.
It really does. And there's a significant historical piece here, too. During World War II, specifically starting in 1942, the U.S. Army actually took over operations on the White Pass. They needed it to help build the Elkin Military Highway.
Wow, the Alaska Highway Project.
Exactly. And engines like Cinderella, #70, became absolutely vital war assets. They were moving huge quantities of materials, equipment, personnel, everything needed for that massive construction effort.
So she played a part in the war effort.
A significant part. The records show over 280,000 tons of material were moved over the railway during that period. Sometimes they were running like up to 34 trains a day.
34 trains a day, that's incredible.
It really puts her current role in perspective, doesn't it? This beloved theme park ride has serious wartime history.
It adds such a layer of depth. So after all that hard work up north, how did she eventually make her way down to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee?
Well, like many railways, the White Pass and Yukon started switching over to diesel locomotives in the 50s and early 60s. More efficient, less maintenance intensive.
The classic story.
Right. So engine #70, our Cinderella, was officially retired from WPNYR service in 1963.
And then what? Did she just sit somewhere?
Pretty much. For about 14 years, she sat idle, along with her younger sister engine, number 71. They nicknamed that one Beatrice.
Cinderella and Beatrice, okay.
Then, in 1977, things changed. The Herschend family, they owned Goldrush Junction Theme Park in Pigeon Forge at the time.
Ah, the park before it was Dollywood.
Exactly. The Herschends, who also owned and still own Silver Dollar City out in Branson, Missouri,
Right.
they purchased both engine #70 and engine #71 from the White Pass.
So the Herschends brought them to Tennessee.
They did, and they actually renamed Gold Rush Junction to Silver Dollar City, Tennessee for a while. So that's how Cinderella first arrived in the Smoky Mountains, destined for a theme park life.
And then the magic ingredient, Dolly Parton.
That's the next chapter. In 1986, Dolly Parton partnered with the Herschends, and Dollywood, as we know it, was born.
Okay.
But just before the park officially became Dollywood, Cinderella needed some serious TLC. She underwent a restoration back to operating condition in 1987.
And that's when she got the name.
That's when she officially became Cinderella, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And she immediately became a star attraction, a key part of the Dollywood Express experience right from the park's beginning.
And she's been charming guests ever since, giving them that scenic, nostalgic ride. It's really quite something thinking about her journey.
It is. From hauling vital supplies in wartime Alaska to, bringing smiles to families on vacation in Tennessee, the contrast is pretty stark.
You mentioned the other engine, Klondike Katie. Are they very different in how they operate?
Yeah, there are some subtle but distinct differences. From what the engineers say, Cinderella #70 was really built for power and torque. Makes sense, thinking about those heavy freight loads on the White Pass.
Yeah, right, pulling power.
Whereas Klondike Katie, number 192, was apparently designed with a bit more emphasis on speed.
Interesting.
And they even sound different. They have their own unique whistles and sort of rhythmic chuffing sounds. I bet real train enthusiasts can tell them apart just by listening.
I would be surprised.
Yeah.
And keeping these incredible historic machines running, that must be a huge job.
Oh, it's massive. It's a constant effort. According to Tim Smith, who's the team lead for the Dollywood Express,
Okay.
he calls it a labor of love.
Yeah.
And impressively, they do a lot of the maintenance work right there in-house at the Dollywood train shop.
That's great.
But, for really specialized tasks, things like casting new iron parts if something breaks, or complex work on the drive wheels,
Yeah.
like they needed for Klondike Katie's sister engine, number 190,
Mm.
they sometimes have to outsource that.
Outsource where?
Often to places with dedicated steam shops, like Tweetsie Railroad up in North Carolina.
Tweetsie. Another famous narrow-gauge tourist railway. There's a connection there, too, isn't there?
Yeah. There absolutely is. It's fascinating, actually. The person who originally started Tweetsie Railroad also started a railroad attraction right there in Pigeon Forge back in 1961 called Rebel Railroad.
No way!
Yes. And Rebel Railroad eventually became Gold Rush Junction, which then became part of Dollywood. So there's this shared history, this lineage in Appalachian tourist railroads.
Oh.
And Tweetsie, because they operate their own historic steam engines, they have a complete steam locomotive workshop, so they've been able to help Dollywood out with maintenance over the years.
Like a sort of steam engine support network.
Kind of. And adding to the connection, Klondike Katie's sister engine, the one we mentioned, needing wheelwork, number 190, she actually runs at Tweetsie Railroad.
It really is a small world for these big engines.
It is indeed. And back at Dollywood, Tim Smith, the team lead, he mentioned the challenge of balancing the park's busy operating schedule with the essential maintenance these engines need.
I can imagine.
They try to do the really big overhaul work during the winter off-season, obviously, to minimize downtime when guests are there. But it's clear the whole team takes immense pride in, keeping these legends steaming. It's about preserving history and creating those special moments for visitors.
And it's not just the engines, right? They maintain the whole system.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The train shop crew also maintains the track itself. They replace something like 200 to 300 wooden cross ties every year out of nearly 6,000 total.
Wow, constant upkeep.
And the passenger cars, too. They get inspected, repaired, repainted every winter to keep them safe and looking good.
That's incredible dedication. And you can see it. Cinderella always looks so well maintained. I think I saw something about her getting a refresh recently.
You're right. Back around 2010, she had quite extensive work done on her boiler and chassis, the fundamental parts.
Okay.
And more recently, they made a conscious effort to update her cosmetic appearance, to make her look even more like she did when she first rolled out of Baldwin in 1938. Things like refining the paint scheme, getting the lettering style just right, those kinds of historical details. It's about authenticity.
Nice touch.
And speaking of history, 2018 was a big year for her. That marked her 80th birthday.
80 years. Still going strong.
Yeah.
That is just amazing when you think about everything she's seen and done.
It really is. From the, the wilds of Alaska during a world war to becoming this cherished icon in the Smoky Mountains. It's quite a life story.
So when we kind of zoom out and look at the whole picture, what's the big takeaway from digging into Cinderella 70s history?
I think what's truly fascinating is how it weaves together so many different threads. You've got the legacy of American industrial might with Baldwin Locomotive Works. Then her crucial role, first in developing the rugged North, and then even contributing to a global conflict, World War II. And now, this third act, bringing joy and a sense of nostalgia, a connection to the past, for literally millions of people at Dollywood. It really highlights the enduring appeal of these machines, and maybe even more so, the incredible dedication it takes to preserve them and keep them operating.
It absolutely gives you a whole new perspective. The next time you're at Dollywood and you ride the Express, knowing that history, knowing the journey Cinderella has taken, it just makes the experience that much richer.
Totally agree. When you hear that whistle blow or you feel that rumble as she starts to pull away, you'll have a much deeper appreciation for the engine herself and for all the hard work that keeps her steaming down the track.
So maybe for you listening, this gets you thinking a little. As you go about your day, what other things that seem ordinary, maybe experiences you have or places you see, what hidden histories might they hold? Surprising stories, important connections, just waiting beneath the surface, kind of like the Dollywood Express.
That's a great thought.
Maybe it's a building in your town or an old bridge or even just a familiar object. It's an invitation, really, to look a little closer sometimes. Explore the stories around you. You might be amazed at what you uncover.